thinking about an Etsy shop, especially if it's a new one of the worst things that you can do is to start off by just designing random things that appeal to you. Without any focus, without any real specific trend in mind, without any real specific target audience in mind, other than, hey, I think this looks cool, someone might buy it. That is a guaranteed way of getting no traffic to your shop, which means no sales. Now, I know this probably sounds like some harsh tough love, and it is, but honestly, it's the number one mistake that I typically see when someone asks me to audit their Etsy shop, or if they're frustrated and to the point where they're just like, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm not getting any sales, I'm not getting any traffic. That's typically one of the things that I see. Now, that's not to say you can't take the unique designs that you like and put them on something like artwork or things like that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you need to know how to identify a specific target audience for those products or for that artwork so that you can drive and channel Etsy's traffic to your shop to find it. And that typically comes from having a strategy around your target audience or a niche. So for today's video, let's talk about some strategies when it comes to picking a niche and how that applies to your shop strategy and overall plan for designs and how you structure and brand your shop so that you can ultimately drive traffic and get those sales. Now, when I say niche, or some people call them niche, or the riches are in the niches, I like to say niche, but you call it whatever you want. But what we're talking about is a distinct market or segment audience for a specific product. I typically like to think of three main approaches when it comes to figuring out the strategy that you want to use for your shop as it relates to niches. The first type is what I call a general store. Typically, those general stores are one or two product types across multiple niches that do tend to get a little more specific for each of those. So they might have all sweatshirts and t-shirts, but they could have one category that is specifically for sports moms. Or they might have another category that's specifically for fitness gurus or wellness. Or they might have another category that's specific to pet ownership. And so they might have a variety of designs around that. The second is to have a broader niche and then have more product types around that broader niche. So for example, you might have a shop that is around professions. And so you might have t-shirts that are geared toward teachers or paraprofessionals. And then you might have some sweatshirts that are geared toward different types of nurses or emergency personnel, things like mugs or tote bags that also fit within those different categories, but are again geared around a broader type of niche. And so in this case, it was different types of professions, but every category in the shop is around a different type of profession. And then there are stores that are what I consider sub-niche shops. And those are going to be shops, for example, a shop that wants to be entirely devoted to just teachers. And so they might have multiple product lines within that are then more specific to just that sub-niche of a profession, but just around teachers. So they might have shirts for kindergarten teachers, for special education teachers, for physical education teachers. They might then also have blankets or personalized mugs or backpacks specifically for art teachers, something along those lines, but they're geared toward a very specific sub-niche within the professional broader niche. Does that make sense? So there's the big overarching general store, which has multiple smaller niches within it. There's the broad niche, which is an identified grouping or segment of target audience that has more specific niches within that. Then there's the very specific sub-niche shop. How many times can we say niche in one video? Now, if you've spent any time researching Etsy shops or niches or how to set up a shop, you'll know that there are many opinions. Mine is just one of many. Some will say that broad categories, those broad general stores, do just fine. Some prefer to say pick something like a profession category and then find different niches within those and have that kind of second option, the broad niche store. And some say the deeper you go in your niche, the better off that you'll find your target audience. And here's the thing, not one of them are wrong. I have seen success across all different approaches, but the one consistency is you need to identify what your strategy is so that you can do the appropriate research within those to then channel the audience and the shoppers that are coming to Etsy to your listings so that you can drive sales to your shop. I think if you've seen any of the success stories that are out there on YouTube or TikTok, you'll know that, again, you can find success in any one of those strategies, but you do need to pick one, at least to start with. And if you decide to change that strategy down the line, there is nothing wrong with that. But you need to have a strategy because that will drive how you do keyword research. That will drive how you incorporate search engine optimization, meaning that you're using those keywords to drive traffic to your shop, and you're using those throughout various segments of your shop. If you're going the route of a general store, you'll still need to do research across multiple niches that you want to have in there. Again, it's okay to have multiple within that shop. I have a general shop that I organize my sections by various niches, and that's okay. It's my most successful shop is doing it that way. The shop that I'm building for this channel specifically, I'm taking a different approach really as an experiment to see how that can do, and that's going to be more of the sub-niche approach. In either case, you'll want to be able to do the research, which we'll get to, so that you know if there is a market for the niche that you want to use. And again, you could certainly design to your heart's content and start flinging stuff out into the Etsy world to see what sticks. That's technically an approach too, but I guarantee you will not see success as fast or growth as fast building your shop if it's new, or pivoting a shop if it's an existing one around items that customers are actually searching for and looking to buy is critical. The only way to do that is by spending some time up front doing the research. One of my favorite tools for doing this broader initial research is a website called eRank.com. They've been around forever. They have data coming directly from Etsy as well as from third-party sites that are doing that research, gathering that data, and then they've built a really nice website and platform for doing research, for looking at what's selling, for figuring out competition, and all of that good stuff. For the new shop that I'm actually building specifically for this channel to use as a tutorial, I'm going to be using the sub-niche approach. So that means I'm going to have one umbrella niche that really encompasses the identity of the shop, and then the products that I have within the shop and start to build different sections for will be kind of like subcategories for that target niche. So with that in mind, let's use that as a real world example for this real shop that I'm building so that you can see exactly how I do it when I go about creating a shop and the niche that is built around it. I'll show you some of the searching methods that I use within eRank. If we jump into eRank, there are lots of options and places you can go, but we're going to focus on keyword searches for research on our niches. And so I'm just in the Keyword Explorer. And the first thing I actually want you to do when you're in eRank is go to this keyword lists. We're going to create a new one based on the type of research we're doing. So the broad category or the broad niche that I want to dive into for this shop is specifically for dog moms. So I'm just going to make a keyword list for dog mom, and you'll see exactly how that's used once we start searching. Come up to the Keyword Explorer and type in dog mom. We're going to start broad and start going deeper from there. Depending on what you're looking at for niches, think about hobbies, think about professions or sports. There is really no limit but you'll want to start somewhere. You can start broad and start narrowing down from there, but think about a different type of target audience or something specific that you could design for or have your shop around. So with Dog Mom, you'll, again, anything broad, this Etsy competition will always be high. That's okay for now. Again, we're just taking broad strokes to start with, but there is good search volume, so that's a good sign that there is a market for this niche. We'll also look at search trends. You can turn on Google. I typically like to because, again, even though we are listing on Etsy, Etsy does use Google, and Google crawls Etsy, meaning it's going to pick up Etsy products in its search algorithm. So if you see that there are searches happening on Google as well, that is a good sign. We want to see that. Now, as we keep diving in and scrolling, related searches, this is where we can start diving into additional products or niches that might be something we could look into for this shop. So you can see tumblers, that's a really good one. So anytime I see something of interest in this keyword, I'm looking in these search volumes, anything ideally that's green over here on the left side and is either green or yellow over here, that is what I considered a good keyword. So for this one, we can see this is a good one because there are decent amounts of searches, clicks, click-throughs, and there is less competition for this type of keyword phrase. So remember, we created that list. If I add this and click the star button, it's going to add it to that list, so that we don't have to jot it down, keep another piece of paper. We can just keep on moving. Same thing with Dog Mom ornament. Even though this is still broad, you can see that there are still keywords and potential products that we might be able to use either now or in the future. Obviously, this is January at the filming of this video, so there is reasonably lots of searches for ornaments. Maybe not something I might start with right now being in January, but I'll flag it as something to think about as I get into future months of designing products. So we'll keep searching. Now, one of the things that you want to think about, and this is part of the reason why I chose Dog Moms as a broader niche, there are going to be more specific niches that you can design for. It may look scary because I just got done saying look for high search volumes, and that's good for the broader category, but as you start to get into more specific searches and search terms, you will see that those searches will be lower. But look at this click-through rate. That means that even though there aren't as many people searching, the people that are clicking through. That is a good sign. And if we look here, there is much less competition. So leader dog might be one, and then from there, that's my cue that there are other sub niches and more specific dog breeds that I can look into. So if we come back to the searches, I can then start to take a deeper dive because I've now validated that this is a good sub niche to explore. So that is where we can then look at things like, let's say, French Bulldog. We'll take off the mom for now, and we'll see what happens with that. Again, we're starting to see those search volumes come up. Click-through is a little lower on this one. We can take a peek here. French Bulldog in general isn't too bad. How about Golden Doodle? If you don't know what that is, it's a cross between a Golden Retriever and a Poodle. So, Golden Doodle. Again, playing around with keywords You may not hit on it right away, but keep diving. This research is going to be tedious. It's going to be more time consuming, but I promise you it will pay off in dividends once you actually get into creating your products and your listings, because these will be the keyword gold mines that you can use as you're building those. So let's take a look at this one. Golden doodle, again, just a broad term. And even though that's a fairly broad term, we didn't say gift, we didn't say mom, we didn't say dog. People who are searching for that know exactly what that means. And again, the more you can connect and understand a specific niche, the more you'll be able to use that within your research, because much higher search volume. You can see this is a great click and click through rate, very low competition. Same thing with golden doodle gifts. These are going to be great options as we get into thinking about products and how we'll market those and what we'll use in titles for this shop. You can see it starts to go down from there, but again, don't always be scared. I know we talk about, and you'll hear me say, look for the green areas, but that doesn't mean you should just stop looking or get discouraged if you see something smaller. As long as this doesn't say 0 or less than 20 or an unknown, as long as it's got something there, then you can bet that there are folks looking for this type of product. They're using this search term, and you can see what kind of competition there might be for it. And so as we're doing our research and we're clicking those little gold stars over here, if we go back into our keyword lists, this is where you can see it's been saving it. So if I click on this one, I don't have to go back and look and find my list of keywords. What did I search for? Search volume. Here's where you can keep track of that and see exactly what you saved and that was good at the time. If you need to change it or move it, you can do that. But this is a great way to keep track of your keywords as you're doing your research within your niche. The other validation that you can do when researching your niche is to come out to Etsy directly. So if we type in something very broad like dog mom, you can see that we're going to get a huge volume of results. Anything above like 20 or 30K, that's probably a little too big. So we want to, again, drill down so that we can start thinking about a specific direction that we can go for designing and building our shop. So one of the examples we saw with eRank was a golden doodle dog mom. So if we did something like that, you can see that is a much smaller result, even with ads included in there. So we'll be looking for our products that are selling, so that you can see this one, it's got a popular now. And if we keep looking, you can see that there's an Etsy's pick and that there really is some good traffic with these shops. You can see there's best sellers out there. So again, there is a very clearly, as we validated with eRank and the keyword searching, we can validate that there really are sales happening within this market. So that is what we want to look for when we are researching specific niches for the shop as we build it. So now that we've got a clear vision on the target audience that we want to use, the types of products that will fit within that, the types of keywords and designs that will fit within that, we now have a great starting place for building products for our shop. And remember, it's okay to make changes along the way. If you decide that you want to go a different direction with your niche or have a different target audience, that is okay. The point is to start somewhere and identify who you're creating products for so that you have the best chance of reaching that audience and getting sales. I hope this was helpful. Be sure to check out the links in the description for a variety of tools and resources that I use, including the Patreon for this channel. If you've got any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments, as I do try to answer those when they come in, and I'll see you next time.